The myth of modern monetary theory. Hi, I'm Dave Arnott, the Christian Economist. Well, what's brought to our attention today is something called modern monetary theory, and the reason it's in the newspapers this week is because an economist named Stephanie Kelton has been named to an economics committee advising presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden. And modern monetary theory, here's a quote from Ms. Kelton, quote, "The government having its own printing press means the government doesn't have to worry about going broke," end quote from Stephanie Kelton about modern monetary theory. If this has you shaking your head, it does most of us, and that's why the title of this episode is called The Myth of Modern Monetary Theory. Look, there's never been a perpetual motion machine because it denies the rules of physics. People have tried, but one of the rules of thermodynamics is that energy is being used up, and you can't have a perpetual motion machine, number one. Number two, humans can't live forever. That would deny the laws of biology. Number three, you can't have an anti-gravity machine. It denies the laws of gravity. It takes energy to work against gravity. Number four, modern monetary theory does not work. It's just outside reality. Look, in a little blue book I wrote called Economics in the Christian Worldview, one of my quotes in there is, the reason there are 2.2 billion Christians in the world is because our worldview fits reality. Modern monetary theory does not fit reality. It is outside reality. Look, in my church group, we've been studying James. And our theme there is faith works. One of my friends reminded me this week that I came back from one of my international trips and quoted an international businessman, I think he was from Brazil, who said, "Dave, to be successful in business, I don't have to be a Christian, but I have to act like one." Don't dwell on the hypocrisy there. Get the point. Christian behavior works. See, that's the summary of all of James. Faith works. Our Christian worldview fits reality. If you do the Christian worldview, you will be successful. And it's tied up in James 2:8. "Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds." So this is reality, and modern monetary theory is outside of reality. Okay, give me just a minute and a half here to tell you the story that I read many, many years ago. And I found out today while researching this. It was actually written in 1875 by an Associated Press writer named Willis Powell. It's a sarcasm, it's myth, it's a made-up story. Don't dwell on the part that it's about skinning cats. Get that out of your mind. This is just a joke, okay? Takes me a minute and a half. Here it is. "Glorious opportunity to get rich. We are starting a cat ranch in Lacone, Illinois with 100,000 cats. Each cat will average 12 kittens a year. The cat skins will sell for 30 cents each. 100 men can skin 5,000 cats a day. We figure a daily net profit of over $10,000. Now what shall we feed the cats? We will start a rat farm next door with 1 million rats. The rats breed 12 times faster than the cats. So we will have 4 rats to feed each day to each cat. Now what shall we feed the cats? The rats. We will feed the rats the carcasses of the cats after they've been skinned. Now get this. We feed the rats to the cats and the cats to the rats and get the cat skins for nothing." End quote. That's modern monetary theory told in another way, according to the Christian economist Dave Arnott. This is what modern monetary theory says. It says that the government, we'll call them the cats for now, the government can spend all the money they want. The Federal Reserve Bank, the rats, can print all the money they want, and we get the money. Folks, it's a joke. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, modern monetary theory doesn't work. President Obama complained many times about having to raise the debt ceiling. He said, why can't we just do away with this debt ceiling? Do you realize what he's saying, folks? That what the government does is so important that it shouldn't be limited by a scarce resource called money. This is absurd. This doesn't work in the real world. Look, modern monetary theory. It's not modern. It's not monetary. It's not theory. Let's take the first and the last words first. It's not modern and it's not theory. We've only had a Federal Reserve Bank since the Federal Reserve Bank Act of 1913 was passed and they enacted the bank in 1914. That means previous to 1914, We had no monetary center like the central bank called the Federal Reserve Bank. So that means it's not modern. Before 1913, we did this. So it's not theory. We've tried it out. What happened? We had huge swings. The economy went up and down, and there was nothing to stabilize it. That's why the Federal Reserve Bank came along. And it's not monetary because it says there should be no monetary policy. Monetary goes away. It's all fiscal. Fiscal policy replaces monetary theory in the words of modern monetary theory. So look at this. It's called modern monetary theory. It's none of the three. In a Wall Street Journal article this week, Karl Rove called it, quote, bizarre but trendy, end quote. Bizarre is about right, Mr. Rove, that it is just outside reality. It does not make the assumption of scarcity. That's the problem. And economics is about the production and distribution of goods and services in a scarce environment. Well, if money's not scarce, then there's no economics. This just doesn't make sense. Matthew 5:37 says, "But let your yes be yes and your no, no. For whatever is more than these is from the evil one." I don't know if I want to go so far as to say modern monetary theory is evil. It's just, as Karl Rove said, bizarre. It just doesn't fit into reality, right? That's repeated in James 5:12. "Above all, my brothers and sisters, do not swear, not by heaven or by earth or by anything else. All you need to say is a simple yes or no. Otherwise, you'll be condemned." End quote from James 5:12. Okay, let's go through a few of the facts, or myths, as I call them, of modern monetary theory. Number one, the main tenet of modern monetary theory is a government issues its own fiat money. Fiat means it's not real. Fiat comes from the word where the king says, let it be. And if the king says, let it be money, it's money. That means fiat money. Number one, the government can pay for goods, services, and financial assets without a need to collect money in the form of taxes or debt issuance in advance of such purchases. You're trying to make something out of nothing. One of the writers I read a great deal is called Hugh Welchel, and I've had some conversations with him, a really smart Christian economist. Hugh Welchel says, quote, "God made something out of nothing. We are called to make something out of something." End quote from Hugh Welchel. See, we are humans. We have to take things and make goods and services of them. We can't make them out of nothing. God did. We can't. Modern monetary theory assumes we can make something out of nothing. That's why it's detached from reality. Here's number two for modern monetary theory. You see, cannot be forced to default on debt dominated in its own currency, meaning you could just continue to print money and spend it and nothing will happen. Well, our point is, no, we've tried this in history. You can't just print more money. Germany did this after World War II because the Versailles Agreement that settled World War I put strong impingements on the country of Germany and made them pay huge debt. So they just printed the money. This is what MMT wants to do, modern monetary theory. We've tried this. It's not theoretical. We knew what happened to Germany. The Deutschmark crashed. Number three, modern monetary theory is only limited in its money creation purchases by inflation, which accelerates once the real resources, labor, capital, and natural resources of the economy, are utilized at full employment. Yes, inflation. Expect lots of it. Expect lots of inflation. And we as Christians care about the poor. Inflation hurts the poor more than the rich. I've already done an episode on this, so I'm not going to unpack that today. We as Christians do not like inflation because it hurts the poor more than the rich. Look at my other episode about inflation for details on that. Number four, MMT says it can control demand pull inflation by taxation and bond issuance, which remove excess money from circulation. And yeah, taxes do remove money from circulation. Expect more of them. Sorry to just take a 20-second excerpt here. I was talking on someone else's podcast the other day, and I said, here's your elevator speech for the pandemic effect on the economy. Fiscal expansion will raise taxes. Monetary expansion will cause inflation. Done. That's it. Those two things. Modern monetary theory will too. If you print all this money, it will cause inflation. Number five from the modern monetary theory idea. It does not need to compete with the private sector for scarce resources because the government can issue bonds. Really? No competition? No scarcity? When the government does something, it doesn't crowd out profit-making businesses from doing so? This is absurd. This just doesn't fit reality. There is competition. There is scarcity. It's called crowding out in economics, right? And so the question here is, can they monetize the debt? And that's what this is called. The government obtains debt, and then the Fed monetizes it by printing money. There's an article in the Wall Street Journal this week, editorial May 8th, called "A Trillion Here, a Trillion There." Well, this is drawn from a statement by Senator Everett Dirksen in 1964 about LBJ's New Deal. He said $1 billion here, $1 billion there. Pretty soon you're talking real money. And the article this week says $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there. You can't continue to print money without paying for it. Eventually somebody has to. Yeah. One more quote. This is from the Foundation for Economic Education, FEE.org, Foundation for Economic Education. These guys are great. In an article by Anthony Davies and James Harrigan, they say the new normal will have the Federal Reserve printing money to pay for Washington's runaway spending. Without knowing it, they're quoting modern monetary theory here. That is what MMT is. Back to these guys' article. And sooner or later, that will give us sustained and significant inflation. Continuing, since the invention of money, this has happened to all of the world's super economies and many of the minor ones, Rome, Spain, Germany, the United Kingdom, and next, the U.S. In every case, the outcome was the same. The country's currency became less attractive as a reserve currency, and the country's economic prominence faded. In every case, the fault traces to a single source, the inability of politicians to constrain government, end quote, from the Foundation for Economic Education, Anthony Davies and James Harrigan. They're exactly right. Modern monetary theory is rats and cats. It's a myth. It does not work. It's detached from reality. The good thing about Christian economics is we fit reality and we like reality. Well, I'm Dave Arnott, the Christian Economist, where our slogan is, fear God, tell the truth, earn a profit. See you next time.